Good afternoon. I'm Angelo Masi, Professor of Structural Engineering at the University of Basilicata and a member of the Board of Directors of the Lewis Network. I shall represent the Italian communication campaign on natural risks, I Do Not Take Risks. It is a communication campaign created and promoted by the Italian Department of Civil Protection, the National Association for Public Assistance representing the voluntary sector, the Institute of Geophysics and Volcanology, and the network of the University Laboratories of Seismic Engineering. The campaign process includes three main phases. A first phase defining the campaign messages and the preparation of informative material, a second phase related to the training process, and the last phase, which consists of a two-day information campaign carried out in the main square of each involved town. The rationale behind the campaign is that preventing or at least reducing the dangers associated with earthquakes is everyone's interest and duty. Learning how to do so through an effective diffusion of information on seismic risk fosters collective and individual responsibility while encouraging active participation. The campaign is targeted at ordinary citizens, therefore it is carried out in the squares of the towns where they live and work. Volunteers are the main actors of the campaign. They inform citizens with simplicity, treating them as equals, serving as living examples by not only teaching prevention but practicing it. The volunteers involved in the campaign generally live in the places where the campaign is carried out, and their permanent presence emphasizes that prevention should be an everyday activity. Moreover, volunteers often know of and spend time with vulnerable population groups, for example, disabled people, who generally have the most exposure to risk and the least access to other communication campaigns, for example, web campaigns. The scientific community contributes to the campaign through the competent centers of the Civil Protection Department. Researchers train volunteers, transferring them basic concepts on seismic risk through language and knowledge as simple as possible, thus enabling volunteers to effectively transfer information to common people when they meet them during the campaign. Simple patterns and imagery are used during the training, as an example clearly showing the role of vulnerability in determining different damage. Volunteers distribute informative materials and answer citizens' questions on the possible ways to reduce seismic risk. The informative materials consist essentially of a leaflet and a card. The leaflet deals with prevention aspects. It explains in clear language what the citizen needs to know in order to reduce the effects of an earthquake, describes some simple measures that everyone can carry out, and provides some suggestions about more technical measures requiring the support of an expert technician. The card deals with emergency measures. It contains simple, useful information for families on what to do during and right after an earthquake. The card can be hung on a wall or a door in plain sight so that the proposed suggestion can be promptly and automatically applied in the case of an event. The first edition of the campaign was held on 22 and 23 October 2011 in the main squares of nine Italian towns located in high seismicity zones. The encouraging response of citizens and volunteers during the first edition of the campaign clearly showed that a new way of communicating was being created and that volunteers could effectively reach ordinary citizens in such a process. Further, this proved to be a very starting point to launch an integrated campaign, including other natural risks with the same branding and communication tools. Specifically, the tsunami risk was added in 2013 and the flood risk was added in 2014. Up to 2015, about 10,000 of civil protection volunteers have been trained and about 1.5 million of citizens have been contacted in several hundreds of Italian towns. The 2016 campaign activities, which were carried out in about 700 squares on October 15 and 16, are being recorded and relevant data are still being processed. During 2012, the campaign was implemented also during the seismic war that affected the Pollino mountain range in southern Italy, to help people cope with the swarm and to prepare for large events that could occur in the future. The citizens reacted well during the main shock of the swarm. demonstrating that the preparedness and communication activities play an important role in building and enhancing a positive public response. The experience of the first 6 years of the I Do Not Take Risks campaigns confirms that risk communication and awareness are crucial to building social capacity and to help citizens effectively cope with natural hazards, being informed, aware, and finally active. The campaign is due to the work of quite a lot of people, and I wish to thank all of them for their passion and above all for the example they set.